Welcome back. I've got Anne and Maria, and this is going to be an amazing conversation. I usually don't have more than one person on the show, but in this particular situation, I jumped at the opportunity. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks,
Thank
Michael.
you. Thank you so much,
So,
Michael, for having us.
oh, my pleasure. So, why don't you, we'll start off with Maria, and why don't you share a little bit about you and the organization, then obviously Anne as well. So, I'll go ahead and the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I guess I'm Maria. I'm one of the co-founders of After Hello. It was one of those, I think we'll probably jump into the story of me and After Hello in just a minute, but we're a matchmaking company. That's the heart of our brand. We have a few other core services around it, but I came from sales and operations and business strategist, and this was one of my favorite matches I've ever encountered was meeting Anne and being able to start this company.
Awesome, and hand it over to you, Anne.
Great. And I'm also one of the other co-founder of After Hello. And as Maria said, our match is incredible. The predecessor to this company was a local matchmaking company that I started in 2017 in Louisiana, New Orleans. I had practiced law for 15 years, gotten burnt out, was really looking for a shift, and had been doing this for 6 years, but really knew that my expertise was not in business growth. I was a lawyer, then I was a matchmaker and a coach. And so one day I was fortunate to interview Maria as a possible match for a client. And when she kind of went through what she did, which is part of our process, so tell me a little bit about your life, your career. And I just kept thinking, gosh, I think I even said at that moment, can we clone you? Because I need someone just like you. I had been thinking that I needed a partner, wanted a partner, and that this, was something that we wanted to expand nationally, but alone it wasn't something I could do with my skills. So Maria has these incredible strengths, and our partnership has been really wonderful. And so a couple years ago, when we joined forces, we rebranded and expanded the company nationally, and now we have several matchmakers working for us and kind of training in our systems, bringing in all our strengths. So it's been really wonderful.
No, it's awesome. I love hearing stories like that when you just have a conversation and it leads to something huge, bigger and better. And I've had that fortunately in my career several times, more often than I can count, where just having a conversation with somebody or asking a question. Sometimes it could be a Pandora's box, but many times it's been a lot of fun and adventures and whatnot. So I know we kind of talked about this a little bit, but let's dive into what exactly After Hello does. And it's a matchmaking service, and one of the things that I've seen, especially with the advent of apps and dating and all of that, in talking with people that are in the dating realm, it's in many ways very challenging for them, but I tell them, I say, there's actual better services than that free app you just downloaded. And obviously, when I hear people saying that, I'm gonna obviously drive them to you guys because you guys do amazing work. But why don't you share a little bit more about some of the amazing work that After Hello has been doing?
Yeah, I guess that's the trouble of having two of us on is who do we go and who goes next. So I can maybe jump into that one from starting from the perspective of being a potential client, if you will, and moving into now working for the business. I was out in the dating culture just like everybody else, witnessing and experiencing the same up and down and the roller coasters that come with the current modern dating culture and app fatigue and ghosting and all the things. And was sitting at brunch with some friends that were also having some of the same struggles. And one of my girlfriends actually had said, "Hey, had you heard of the New Orleans matchmaker?" And I didn't either. I was one of those people that didn't realize there was another option. I think when I heard matchmaker, I thought you had to use if you were Jewish maybe, or a millionaire maybe, or something of that nature. That's who used matchmakers, and not that you know everybody has the opportunity or that it would be something available to them. So I entered the database, and the next day Anne called me and said, "Hey, I might potentially have a match for you." And I think she kind of alluded to how that conversation went, that essentially the match that was the most successful was meeting her and jumping into this conversation. But really, I think it does lead into this opportunity for people that don't know that there are other ways besides just, sitting at a bar, perhaps, or swiping on apps endlessly, that there are some other ways to do this to add some more human aspects to dating, bringing it back, having some of that support and some of that culture to get it done.
Yeah, and I would say that, we value professionalism in so many other facets of our life, right? And I would never dream of doing my taxes myself. And, we have real estate advisors and financial planners and all of this. And honestly, finding a life partner is the most important decision you'll make. At least that's how we feel about it. And so, we do offer something different. We offer an opportunity for someone to really sit down with us and clarify for themselves, what are their non-negotiables? Like, what does it take in a partner that would keep the relationship happy and thriving and work for them and their values and their life vision and all of those things. And so once we sit down with our clients and figure out what that looks like, because of course we're the ones responsible for recruiting and interviewing the people who we're going to match them with, then that's exactly what we do. We have a very sizable database. That's always the first place that we look, and we'll start our interviews from there. But also, we really are recruiters in some way. And so we leave no stone unturned. We have, meetings on every single client where our marketing director sits in, and Maria and I and the matchmaker, and we really come up with a comprehensive plan of how we're going to source the right match and find the right match. And so I think if for people who are really intentional and want to have that kind of, that level of detail and of attention, that is something that we offer. It's not something that everyone can afford, obviously, but we do have other services. For instance, we do something that might sound controversial, like we take over people's dating app profiles, because we know that there are some people who would do really, really well on the apps. Demographics, we know certain ones do better on the apps, but we also know that it's a terrible process. It's people don't know what they're doing, and so they're not using that tool effectively. So we'll come in and take over and optimize their profiles and choose really beautiful photos that represent them accurately. And then, we don't go in to try to make anyone fall in love and mislead or anything, but we will go in and have a few conversations back and forth and just try to get our client to an in real life connection, whether that's a phone call or a video date or some, in person, even like a coffee or a drink or something like that. So that's another big thing that we do that I think is a way of using that dating app tools, but in the best, most effective ways.
It makes a lot of sense, and it's cool that you offer that service as well, because I know a lot of people, they fumble around, and they more or less will, pick the quote unquote wrong person. I'm not saying that person is wrong; it's just not the right match for them, and they just they start making. I don't want to say foolish decisions, but they're not clearly thinking. And even in the conversations that they have, I see this all the time, and I'll pick on guys for a moment. I'll hear and talk with them, and they'll say some things, and I look at them. You what? You said what to her? Uh, what? And it goes both ways. I'm not, but I can just I'll pick on guys because I'm a guy, and I'll do it. But sometimes I shake my head. I'm like, what are you doing? And it's like, and I'm not, any type of relationship coach at all. I work with people. Just be a decent human being. Don't ghost them. If you're not interested, then rip off the band-aid and let them know. I mean, but be polite, because you're dealing with people that have hearts and souls and feelings, and you don't. Try not to harm or hurt anybody. I mean, are they going to be disappointed because they may see you as the best person that they've ever met in their lives? But if you're not in alignment with that, then don't string them along, kind of thing. But it's a funny game, this thing called humanity. We sometimes we're not thinking clearly when we're doing some things. So again, that fact that you not only just with After Hello, but the service of just, let's take over your dating app, and let's get some photos out there that are a little bit more you. And whether it's the good profile picture or activity pictures, or whatever happens to make sense for whoever you're trying to attract. And it's one of those things where I know people all the time. I know a ton of people that are single, And they're like, yeah, I can't find anybody. I'm like, where are you looking? And how are you looking? And there's been many cases where, like, yeah, I think, like, okay, who do I know that might be the right fit for them? I have a family member. I wouldn't wish anybody for that person. I just wouldn't, because that individual is a handful. And I'm not going to say anything else for anybody to read between the tea leaves, but I'm not, no, I wouldn't do that to anybody. They have to kind of figure out their way before they should get into the dating scene again. Just my personal opinion. Again, not an advisor in any stretch. But since you've launched this, and a lot of times, people will say, okay, it's how can I afford that? But you said something, Anne, a moment ago that it really struck a chord with me. And your life partner is such, whether it's for a short period of time or the quintessential forever, it's so critically important to have somebody that will be a partner in life with you. And there's a lot, and it's not just, a cheerleader. It's not, oh yeah, you can do it. You got this. No, you need some people in your life. And I'm, very fortunate that my wife is very loving, supporting, caring, but she'll kick my ass if I need it, and more often than not, I probably do. But figuratively speaking, no physical abuse here. But just holding me accountable and calling me out on my BS, and because sometimes I can do that, and so I get it. And those types of relationships, again, just from my perspective, what works for me, um, resonates with me. And how there are people that, they want both the parties to be very nurturing and caring and, non-confrontational. Different strokes for different folks, as we like to say. But uh, I guess this is more of a higher arching question. And I know, Maria, you mentioned this also a moment ago about the dating scene today. And I'm guessing the dating scene today might be a little different than it was maybe pre-pandemic. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And we'll start off with Anne just on some insights on that.
I think so. I do think that, if we look at the numbers, they are falling for the dating apps, and people are really happy to go to more events and connect in real life. I think we're seeing that kind of trend. We're certainly getting the demand from our clients for opportunities like that. Um, so I would say that, people are burnt out of the apps. They've kind of used them, they've been there, and they really are looking for some, more of a human, real connection and looking to avoid all of these pain points that they've been experiencing for a really long time.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't think that dating apps are going anywhere, right? I think that's definitely part of it's a necessary evil, if you will. And there really are a lot of positive things around dating apps if done well. And I think there's a whole podcast that can certainly be done on how to do dating apps well. I think we forget that, it's a business too, and it has algorithms and there's some really important tips and best practices to make that more effective. But I mean, who you pick as your life partner is definitely one of the most important decisions we make as humans. I think I've read something like 83% of people say like relationships are the direct correlation to the success and their performance. And I've definitely heard some important figures talk about how their partner was a reason why they got to where they were. And I think you just mentioned a little bit about that yourself, Michael. So it's a really important decision, and to have some help with that makes a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah, it's been, again, it's a huge decision, more than buying your house or where am I going to go to school or anything like that. It's, this is somebody that's going to be coexisting with you. And I find too, just in the work that I do, that a lot of people, and this will kind of segue into my next question, on how people can best be prepared to start working with After Hello. But I think, and I encounter this a lot, and I'm guessing you do too, especially when you're going through the process of interviewing, kind of getting them to figure out, okay, what type of personality are you? What kind of personality do you want in a partner? And I shouldn't be amazed by this, but I find that so many people have absolutely no clue who they are. They don't really understand themselves, which at first I think, how is that even possible? You've spent your entire life with you. How do you not know that? But I think life challenges, all the external things that happen in the world, whether it's pandemics or tariffs or wars or, economic challenges, you name it. There's never a shortage of external things that can throw us off our game. But for a lot of people, they don't want to look within. So when you're asking them, okay, tell us a little bit about yourself, that's one of those questions that freezes a lot of people. They go, and you go, you don't know who you are? Maybe we should, get you some therapy because you may need some help with that. And I say that not to be joking, but in many cases, there's just a lot of people that don't really understand who they are. And I think once they get a better understanding of what motivates them, what lights up their day, what are things that they enjoy doing in life, all of these kind of things, once they get a little bit better and I don't know, maybe love themselves a little bit better, I'm guessing they're going to be a better partner because of that. But so that's kind of an intro to what are some things that people can do to pretty pretty much enable them to be successful in working with After Hello. And we'll start off with Maria this time.
Yeah. I mean, I think I also want to give a little space to people. You're talking about maybe not knowing yourself. There's so many individuals that come to us that, have been married for a really long time and they're just getting out of that and just getting back into the dating scene. And it's dramatically changed. The dating scene has dramatically changed since when they were, dating before their marriage. And so sometimes it's just, navigating that piece of it. But I think you're exactly right. You do need to get clear on what you want and get very intentional about that. So you don't necessarily need to come to us knowing exactly what you want, but you need to be open to figuring that out. And that's going to be part of the conversation, really early on. You really need to be open to being coached. Anne says this in different ways, and I'll butcher this. Anne, please fix it for me once I say it. But really kind of to attract the person you want, you need to become that person yourself. And so really having a mirror to look at and going, hey, where am I at? What is it that I'm looking for? And if it's something different, right? What does that mean for me? And if I'm willing to adjust in that. We use different aspects to match on. Specifically, we want to match on your vision. So your vision for your life, your vision for your relationship. Specifically, we work with people that are looking for long-term partnerships. It doesn't necessarily have to be marriage, but long-term, monogamous relationships are what we specialize in. And so what that vision looks like for everybody is a little bit different. And then, your values, we're really going to jump into what your core values are. Specifically, we're going to try to make you narrow it down to the top 5, which is a really tricky thing to do. A lot of times I get on calls with people and they don't even have an idea what a value might be, let alone what their core values are. And then the third thing really is your lifestyle or your vibe, if you will. Like, what are the hobbies you like? What don't you like? And is there anything, especially now, important around politics, around religion, things of that nature? So, it's a full 360 approach when it comes to matchmaking. You definitely have to be willing to slow down, trust the process, and kind of get intentional about it.
Anne, your thoughts?
I would also say that, we don't expect someone to come to us and just be like, perfect. I'm in perfect shape for this. We understand that there's room for growth for all of us. And the most important thing is that you have that growth mindset and open-mindedness, that you come to us knowing that maybe you need to do something differently than you've been doing before. And then we can work with you to figure that out. We know what questions to ask to really get you to hone in on the things that are most important. If we think you need help beyond what we can offer, we will recommend other providers like a therapist. But typically, if somebody is just open to a little bit of self-reflection and introspection and having those conversations about what has worked for them in the past, what hasn't, what type of people do they really enjoy spending their times with, what are the things that they really can't compromise, that if they did would be a real sacrifice in their life and probably breed resentment, which would just kill the relationship anyway, right? So as much as we would love to provide every single thing in your list, what we really want to hone in on with our clients are, what's most important, what's non-negotiable to you, and then the rest, kind of what are you willing to compromise on? Because you're probably not going to find someone who's entirely perfect, since we're humans and that doesn't exist. But you need to find someone whose imperfections align well with you and your life, and who really does meet your core needs, and sort of share the growth aspect, right? Someone who's willing to grow with you and change and tackle problems. And so we are looking for clients who share that value with us, because we think that they are the ones who we find the most success with.
Yeah, and again, the positive side effect with this is a lot of people, find out a little bit more about themselves. And I think that perspective can help people basically be a better partner. Because then they're, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe I need to ease up on this," especially when they give you the laundry list of things that they want the perfect specimen of a human being to be. And it's like, maybe we need to hold out for an AI robot, and then you could just program them to be that way. But yeah, I hope we never get to that stage. I don't want that. I think humanity needs relationships, and in relationships that will hold us accountable, but also be our cheerleader for us as well. And I think that's what resonated me most about the service that you bid in. I actually, even though I never used it, I was familiar with the New Orleans matchmaking thing. I don't know how I was, but oh yeah, I remember that. I must have seen an ad or something like that. I don't, or maybe somebody that I know worked with you way back when. I don't know. But I found it, kind of interesting. It's like, oh yeah, I remember them, or you, I should say. But no, it's cool that you guys are doing this, because again, I'm a big believer in, tackling this thing we called life. When you have somebody alongside that will find the things that you find interesting, but not everything. Like I said, my spouse has interests that I'm not necessarily interested in, and I have a bunch of interests that she certainly isn't interested in, but we still, thrive and grow with each other. And even to the point of, we have a brand new puppy, and that's an adventure in itself, to say the least. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this stage. This is you know sleep's overrated. Sleeps, although the little guy, he sleeps really well. So right now that could change because he's only 3 months. So you think, okay, now we got him figured out. No, tomorrow he's going to do something completely different and throw us all off, but that's okay.
Mhm.
We're all good with that. Same thing happened with kids, like, okay, they're progressing. Oh, no, maybe not. But it's all fun. So, in closing, I guess, where do you see, and this is, it's not like I'm asking the 5-year plan, because the last 5 years, nobody planned for what we've gone through over these last 5 years. But where do you see things going? I know you'd mentioned earlier that, the usage of apps seems to be declining a little bit, and people are getting to be a little bit more in person. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you see things progressing over, the next few years when it comes to relationships and people that are, trying to find, their partners in life.
Who would you like to start?
Go ahead, Anne.
And you go ahead.
I think that it's projected for our industry to continue to grow pretty quickly, actually. I know that there's a lot of advances with AI, and who knows, I'm sure that, someone's AI avatar is going to date another AI avatar online, and when they find the right match, maybe I'm sure there's incredible things that are coming our way in that sense. I still feel that there's going to be a human element that cannot, just can't be replaced. And I do think that people are gravitating more towards having that expert in their corner, that human touch. And I feel like our industry is growing. I just came back from a conference in New York, and there were 170 like professionals in our industry, whether they're coaches or even whatever that is, matchmakers, and it's because we're seeing a lot of demand. We know that people are um, experiencing an epidemic of loneliness in this country, and it's really killing people at alarming rates. That, I guess cancer's going up, heart disease, stroke, all of these things that they have tied to loneliness. I think they're saying it's as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So we know that we are going to be in demand for people. And like you said, there's nothing like having that partner who is there to support you in bad times and in good. And it's funny that you say that, because I would say maybe one of the number one things I hear when speaking to males about who they're looking for is exactly what you said, is someone who will kind of hold them to doing their best and propel them to the next level. And that is something that I think that only, a service such as ours and other professional matchmakers kind of weeding out those people and having those conversations and saving the time and emotional energy. I think that there's a lot of room for growth in our industry.
Yeah, After Hello started from the concept of Match made a NOLA, and very quickly Anne realized that the need is, it's national, it's global. Currently for us specifically, we are coast to coast. We do cover every state, and hopefully one day be able to cover maybe even some more countries. 50% of the population is single, and I think they talked about matchmaking is supposed to grow another 10% by 2028. So there's definitely an app fatigue. I think I mentioned I don't think they're going away. So we've found a way to evolve with it and evolve with the technology and the AI, and I think that that's a really important piece. But yeah, dating's not going away. We just need to kind of keep growing and evolving with it and helping people find their match, find that person.
Yeah, and we know that we're seeing some stats that the population is growth is kind of slowing down a little bit, and that has some long-ranging effects. I'm not saying okay, start having kids right away. I'm not saying that at all. But if you're not in a relationship, then the likelihood of you having children gets diminished, and it's not for everybody. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, not a chance, I don't want to have any kids. I had 3 adult kids and I'm still flabbergasted that they're adults. I'm like, how in the world did that happen? But my original career was accounting and I can do the math, so I know how it happened. But at the end of the day, it's all about finding that person for you that can help you grow and you can help them grow. And when you have both of those things happening, it's beautiful and magical. So love this conversation. Where can people find out more about you and all this amazing work you're doing?
Absolutely. They can go to our website, which is www.afterhello.com. We are on also every social media platform available. I would encourage people to jump into the database. That's a smart thing to do no matter what. It's free, it's private, and it's a way for you to have an opportunity to potentially meet some of the clients that we do work with, and an opportunity to speak with one of the matchmakers yourself.
Great stuff. I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So, Anne, Maria, thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations on the success. You've got a lot of work ahead of you. So, and thankful that you're there to do it. So, thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks for having us,
Appreciate.
Michael.
Thank you.